One way to organize your data on your web page when you're working with HTML is to create a table. A few years back, tables were a great way to lay out your pages, but now we do that in CSS. But if you need to organize your data into columns and rows, the table still has its function. And it's a great way if you have to organize data to make things line up nicely on a page. A table feature is great. It's just like what you would do in Word or Microsoft Excel, and it's very easy to work with to implement into your HTML. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my notepad over here on the left hand side. I'm going to come down here to the very bottom and right below my paragraph information. And basically, just like with anything, you have to start off with a table tag. So I'm going to put the table tag in. I'm also going to put a closing table tag in. So don't forget to always include the closing tags as you work with this. Now, before you start implementing a table, you might want to plan it out first. And it's okay to plan it out in Word if you want to. If you're comfortable working with the Word tables, go ahead and plan it out, put the data in. How many rows are you going to need? How many columns are you going to need? So you need to know that information first before you implement it into HTML. So I'm going to create a table that has at least 4 rows. And if that's the case, then I need to include the tags TR for each row that I'm going to work with. So what I usually do is I will put the rows in first, and then I'll go back in and place in the number columns or cells that I need to work with in each row. So I want at least to have 4 rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a TR. The TR tag is simply telling it's going to be a new table row. So every row that you want in your table, you have to tell it to have a TR. I'm going to put a closing TR tag in just right below it. And I'm going to include 4 sets of these. Now you can type it in, but once you type in the first one, easier to do is highlight it, copy it, paste it, and all I'm doing is doing Control C if you're on a Mac, Command C, and then Control V, Command V on the Macintosh. V as in Valentine. So here I got 4 rows. Now if I leave that the way it is, it'll probably just come up. You'll have probably a blank area on your page, and that's it. We have to actually tell how many cells we're going to have in our table. You can also think of as columns. Now typically in your first row, we usually consider that a heading row, and we have a tag that allows us to stress that by making any text inside that cell bold, and we can do that by putting in what we call as the TH tag. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in TH, and then don't forget to put a closing. Now how many columns are you going to have? Well, you're going to have to repeat this 2, 3, 4 times depending on what you're working with. So I'm going to do it 3 times. So notice how I'm putting it all in the same row. You can put it on separate rows if you want to and make it easier. I'm just putting all the information, and notice how the TH is going right in within the row itself, the row tag. So here it's indicating that I have 3 columns basically. Now if you have 3 columns up here, you need to have 3 columns all the way throughout. And in this case, we're not going to use a TH for the other rows. We're going to just indicate by regular cells, and that is by putting in a TD. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a closing tag in. Oops. Again, I made a mistake with that one little bracket there. Always make sure. I'm going to copy and then paste in the information. Now I'm going to select this whole information right here. I'm going to copy it, come down, paste it. Copy, paste. It's already been copied, so I only have to copy it once. Saves you time to put it in. Now if I'm going to go ahead and save this right now, I'm just going to do a file save. I'm going to come over and refresh my browser. Just going to click on the arrow here with the refresh or reload. Now nothing comes up because I don't have any content in my cells. So now it's time to go in and add my content. So what's my title going to be in the first cell? Okay, so here in this case, I'm going to type in I'm going to leave the first cell blank, and then I'm going to come over to the second cell. I'm going to type in Monday, and I'm going to click on the last one, type in Friday. Now, I'm leaving the first one blank because I'm going to have that as a separate, the first column of basically a separate title, working with that. So here I'm going to put in some golf course's name. I'm going to go to the next row. I'm going to put in the first cell the name of the golf course. Go down, I'm going to click in the other cell, do the same thing. And so, again, once you start getting the habit of working with tables, it's not that bad working with HTML. Now, if I save this right now, let's take a look. I'm going to save it, come over, refresh. Now you can see how Monday and Friday is coming up and how my name of the golf clubs are coming up as well. Notice Monday and Friday is in bold. That's because I'm using the TH. So now I got to finish up the information that I'm going to have in each of the other cells. Here I'm just putting some times. Make sure you're in the right set of tags. So again, that's why what I try to do is I try to keep them in the same row because I can kind of visually see which columns I'm working with. I know it's kind of hard to see when you're working with tags, but you'll get used to it. Okay, let me save this. I'm going to come over and refresh. And you can see the information is already lined up into the columns and rows. Now you can get more control now with Cascade style sheets to do more formatting. So for example, if you want to format the whole table, you can do so. Add a border, add a color. If you want to fill in information with a solid color, you can do so. You can apply it to the whole row, or you can apply it to the individual cells. What you have to do is apply the style to the tag that you want to change. So in this case, I have this linked to a style sheet, and so what I'm going to do, oops, let me excuse me on that. Let me close that. Let me move the style sheet over. And here it's already been existingly added for the different sections. So I'm going to I'll just start up here at the top under body. And if I want to go in, let's say for example, I want to change the width of the table. I can go in here and I'll type in table for the table tag, put in my curly bracket, width. Now you can measure it out in percentage, you can do it in pixels. So if you want the width to be a certain width, you're measuring it out and you want to lay it out a certain way, you can do that. So let's just do 300 pixels. I'm going to save this. I'm going to come over and refresh. You can see that the table gets a little bit larger. Now what I want to do is I'm going to fill in the background color for the first row where Monday and Friday is, and that happened to be where we had the TH cell. So I'm going to put in TH colon, or not the colon, but the curly brackets, and let's put in background color, just like we learned before. And again, you want to use hexadecimals as the way to go on this. Makes your life a little bit easier. Now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to refresh over here, and you can see that the green comes in. Now maybe that black text is a little harder to read and you want to stand out. So in the TH, I'm going to add another item. I'm going to type in color, colon, # FF to make it white. So you can add borders to your rows, you can add borders to your whole table. It all depends on what you want to do. You can look up, there's more information about what you can apply to a table within Cascading Style Sheets. It's like a border, kind of similar to what we've learned before or that you might see in style sheets. You can just add, like, for example, border in colon, and we'll just do 1 pixel. So I'm going to save this, refresh over here. And actually it is coming with a border there, and it's a different color, so let me we can go back in, we can make the change to that if we needed to. So if I really want to go in and work with this, you can make a solid line, and you can also make sure it's in black if you wanted to. So this is called a shortcut way. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll put the border, and some people put 3 lines. They'll say border 1 pixel, border solid, border, you don't have to do that. You can put it all together on 1 line. Just make sure there's a space in between. So when you're adding tables and you're going in, you want to keep things organized into nice columns, and you want to line things up, you want to center things that way, you can actually go in, add the table like we did here. We add the table feature, and we add the rows, we add our columns by adding either the TH or TD. Just remember, for each row, if you had 3 sets of column information like THs, then you're going to have 3 sets of TDs on each of the rows. So kind of plan it beforehand and you'll be okay. So it's really easy to add. Don't forget to stylize it a little bit, add some extra color if you need to, kind of match it up with what you have on your website. And again, it's a great way to organize your data. So if you have a lot of data that you need to organize into columns and rows, the tables are a way to go on that part.